Hi, I'm Ross Ellis, founder and CEO of STOMP Out Bullying. And today I want to welcome once again Dr. Jeffrey Gardere, America's psychologist. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Ross, for having me as always.
Always. Jeff is one of the most widely sought after people in osteopathic medicine and psychology, and he actually teaches psychology at Toro College. And he is better known as America's Psychologist, author of 4 books, and can be seen regularly on Today Show, CNN, MSNBC. There isn't a TV show he hasn't been on. Um, we are we've been going all month with the issue of mental health, and I'm thrilled. Well, not thrilled that we're ending it, but um, thrilled that we're able to close it with questions that you might have had. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll answer them. Dr. Jeff, why have students lost interest in school since the pandemic?
Well, I think it was certainly an incredibly horrible and difficult interruption in their lives. It really did interrupt their flow regarding learning about interpersonal skills and not just their academic skills. I think the combination of being home, not having the proper internet access, being estranged from their teachers, if you will, isolated from teachers and other students, did have a severe psychological impact. And we see the statistics show us that we've seen unprecedented levels of mental health challenges for young people. So in many ways, because of all of these different things that they've gone through because of COVID-19, that in many ways, we have students who have really lost their way, lost the verve, lost the intentionality of being successful in school. They just don't see it as being the institution it once was.
Right, right.
Sadly.
And it is sad.
It is sad because you have so many teachers that are really teachers and administrators and consultants and so many others working in the public schools, in the private schools, really trying to bring the students back, trying to bring a new energy, rededicating themselves to the work of educating and nurturing our children. So we're not going to give up, but we have to deal with the reality that it is going to take hard work to bring back that old school spirit.
Sure. This question is a little bit like the last question, but do you think there's one academic skill that students have lost collectively since the
Well,
pandemic?
yeah. I think since the pandemic, there are two that are mentioned quite often, and they are reading and arithmetic. A lot of different statistics, but they've shown that they've lost about half a year in those particular subjects, and they probably lost more or just as much in maybe other subjects that we're really not quite aware of that may be related to those two core subjects. But
Mhm.
those are the ones that we know for sure. I can only guess at the other ones, but those are the ones we know for sure have really been negatively affected.
Right, right. What are some of the signs that our kids are suffering emotionally since the pandemic?
Well, what we tend to see is kids don't always have the verbal skills to be able to talk about what it is that they're going through or how they're experiencing the pandemic, especially around issues of anxiety and depression. So what we see is that they act it out, right? That's part of the maturational phase. When they get older, they can talk about it, but when they're younger, they may not really know quite what's happening or how to put it into words. So we look at the behaviors. What are the red flags?
Mm,
The things that they once held dear, their goals, the things that they like to do, they're no longer doing, or they no longer have, as we just talked about, have that ambition to move forward. They isolate themselves away from their friends. They may have some eating disorders, either eating too much or too little, some body dysmorphia, involving themselves in very unhealthy activities, such as, binging and purging and so on. We may also see that they may be very, very sad. To the point of where they really don't want to talk about their emotions or feelings. And even if there was an open communication at some point with the parents, a lot of those communications have closed and they've really kind of isolated themselves away.
Right. I was watching Eyewitness News last night, and one of the reporters asked a little boy, I don't know, maybe he was like 8 or 9, what did he miss the most? And he said, well, I couldn't play football. I couldn't see my friends. And he looked like he was going to cry. But then the reporter said, but now you can do that. And he gave him a big smile. And it's amazing how when they can't do it, and of course it does sadden them, but his little face was so cute. And I just felt so bad because every kid's going through that.
Well, look, I mean, as adults, we like to have fun, but it's a different kind of fun, right? It's much more measured. We're always thinking about what are the consequences of the things that we do? Do we have the time to be able to have just fun? There are things that we need to do to get to that phase, responsibilities to take care of. But for kids, other than homework, it's about fun. Even in class, it's about fun. When they're home, it's about fun. And all the joy was really taken away from them for the most part with COVID-19. They really couldn't understand really how does something like this happen to someone who's so young. And even though we found different ways to nurture ourselves psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually by rediscovering the things that are most important, especially family connections, being there for one another. Kids lost so much with regard to just having fun. And for a long time, and even now, we may see it again if there's another surge, which is what we're expecting, especially in the New York area and some other parts of the Northeast. If there is a surge of COVID-19 again, now you're looking at, okay, you can have fun, but more social distancing, more wearing masks. Certain contact sports will be prohibited once again. So it's something that's really, really difficult. I think a lot of people think that we're through with COVID, but I'm not quite sure COVID is through with us at this particular time, and especially emotionally what it's doing to our children. So parents, listen up. Take care of your children. We have more things that we must work with them on so that they can be resilient. And of course, if they need that counseling, make sure that the counselors at school, the school nurses, social workers know what's happening with the kids, because we can help them. We're not victims. We're not hopeless. We can fight. I'm a fighter. I tell you, I'm a fighter.
You're great. The mayor said that we will not go into lockdown again. If we do, because we may have to, we don't know, we're going to see a lot of the microaggression again, or still, and we're going to see like people not wanting to wear a mask. I hate wearing it, but I wear it. I wear it indoors, outdoors. Yesterday I wore it and I was dying of the heat. It was so hot, but I wore it.
Hey, listen, let me one up you here. I wear my mask when I'm brushing my teeth. Don't get me started. Just kidding.
He's a big joker, but he's terrific.
But anyway, your point as to what the mayor had said.
I mean, so if the mayor does not have a mask mandate, or if COVID looks like it is rising here in New York, what do we do about that? Because if people don't wear a mask, they can spread it if they cough or spit or whatever. And then we have these people that, and I'm not taking anything away from them, I don't agree, but that feel it's their right not to wear a mask. Well, it is their right, but they can spread it. So what do we just stay in this limbo? What do we do?
Well, I'm not a physician, but as a citizen and as a psychologist and as a senior citizen, I do believe in the power of the vaccine. I'm a living example of that. A lot of people in my family had gotten COVID. I had gotten my two shots and my two boosters, and I didn't come down with it. And I think, that a lot of that had to do with being inoculated in that way. I would like to see more people give that thought because it's not just about your own fear. And I do understand people have a fear. I believe they may have some religious reasons. Some people have political reasons, which is very difficult for me to sanction. But I get it. You do you, we do us. But the important thing is we have to think about our community, not just ourselves. And therefore, if you've been exposed, it's important that you wear a mask wherever you go, letting people know that you've been exposed. There should be no shame in your game. So many people have gotten it, and so many people will. But be very careful that you don't transmit it to other people. And as far as not going back to a mask mandate, then you have your own individual choice. Ross, you and I are, on the same level on that. We see it the same way. I wear my mask in any indoor, setting where there, are, several or a number of people for the most part.
Right.
And if I want to protect myself or protect my children or what have you, I will have them wear the mask.
Right. Right.
Whether it's mandated or not.
Yeah. I would like to see people think like that. I mean, I know there are so many that just will not wear it. And I also know some people that wouldn't wear it and got COVID. They did not end up in the hospital, thank God, but they got COVID. So it's not that you want to talk someone into it. It's a question of safety. But I'm not going to go there.
Well, you've got to think outside of yourself. All right.
Right.
Okay. So, many of us are in very good physical condition. We're blessed by the Creator in that way. We take care of ourselves and all those sorts of things. But not everyone has that kind of robust health. And you've got to think about that. Okay, if I get it, it'll feel like a cold or a flu. I'll be okay. I'll build antibodies. It's all right. But what if you pass it to some stranger who then takes it home to an elderly person or someone who's, immunocompromised? You pass it to that individual. You may be okay, but that other person may get really ill. So you've got to think about community. You've got to think about others. It's not just about you, or as the opera singers say, it's not just about me, 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 me. It's about everyone else. Think about
You have to have empathy, Dr. Jeff.
empathy and stop being so darn selfish.
Right, right. They're so good. New studies are saying that TikTok and social media are hurting the mental health of our children. Can you tell me more about that? I know what I see as far as bullying, but tell me what you see.
Well, I'd be interested in what you're seeing, and then I'll tell you what I see.
TikTok is fun. I mean, I just look at the dogs all day long. Not all day, but like at night.
Not all day.
No, but when I'm just like I need to chill. I love looking at the puppies. I can't have one in my building, so I guess TikTok is the next best thing. But some things on TikTok and definitely some things on social media are hurting the mental health of our children because they're being cyberbullied. If someone says one thing to them, they don't understand that they should not respond to that post. They should delete it and block the person. But people and kids especially have this feeling that they must respond. So it's sad because that grows, and they don't realize when it grows, it gets worse.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, yes, I completely understand what you're saying, and I think in some ways that any kind of social media, especially when you have trolls, especially when you have people who, because they're incognito,
Mhm.
can say all sorts of things and really torture other people, and of course that's part of the bullying. What the studies are showing with not just TikTok but other social media, those very short clips tends to get kids to be habituated to them, addicted to them, actually. Let me throw out that term, habituated, addicted to them emotionally to some extent, perhaps not a clinical addiction. But what happens is now, not only do they want to spend so much time on those particular platforms, but now they are training their minds to release this neurotransmitter called dopamine. And that is the neurotransmitter that when you do something that's pleasurable, it says, ooh, do that again.
Right.
So now the only time that that dopamine fires, when it should be for food, when it should be for social interactions, when it should be for good grades, it only goes with things that get to a particular level that get them to fire, such as some of these very short videos. So that's one thing that's an issue. The other thing that's the issue is that they start losing impulse control. They got to have it, and they got to have it now, like they get it on social media, right? Immediate gratification. And they can only focus for a short period of time because that's what they're trained to see on social media. So there are a number of issues. Now, TikTok, I believe, actually has a system where they allow parents to go in, put in some parental locks in there, but they also have videos that educate parents as to try not to leave your child on this particular social platform for too long. And they give them suggestions on how long they should be on it, and then get them off, and then get them to do something else, like read a book or do something educational. So at the end of the day, it really is about too much of something is not good for you. And
It's very true.
therefore, we have to have, a varied menu so that our kids don't just get stuck on one thing and train their minds to work in just one particular way.
Right. And also, too, and there's some nasty stuff in social media. Let's face it, not everyone is pure and wonderful. There are kids who and adults who get joy out of hurting people.
Mm-hmm,
And the
mm-hmm.
best way to do it is behind a computer screen or your device, and it's so harmful to the psyche. And I mean, let's face it, there are teenagers and even younger. I think the youngest is 6 that have taken their lives by suicide.
Yeah, and what we're seeing is that there's been an increase during the pandemic
Mhm.
of psychiatric emergency room visits that they are relating to thoughts of suicide or suicidal actions. And so we've really got to be careful as to what our kids are doing on social media. Look, as I like to say, I'm like the old man in the shoe. I have so many kids, I don't know what to do. Or as Ed Sullivan would say, it's a really big shoe. And a lot of people don't know who Ed Sullivan is anymore. But the point is, they don't know who Milton Berle is either while we're at
Get it?
But anyway, the point, God, I'm so old. But the point is that, we really have to be careful with what it is that our kids are watching.
Right.
They're laser focused into it. And we've got to find other things for them to do, like play baseball, soccer, play with other children
Huh?
without a device in their hand.
Go to
Actually
a Jets
talk with
game.
someone else. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got to get them out of the virtual world, out of the meta world, into, I mean, all of those things have their own place too. But this is the real thing right here.
It's true.
As
Right.
we're on video, but this is the real thing right here.
It
Look,
is.
there, you can hit it. It's real.
What do parents what do parents need to do to open the line of communication with their kids? You have a dog?
I actually have two dogs.
Oh, I didn't know you got dogs.
Yeah,
Okay.
we call them pandemic dogs.
Okay.
Those dogs are better than antidepressants, but
Okay.
don't try that at home. All right. But anyway, so your question was again.
So what do parents do to open up the line of communication with their kids? Because I have not. I'm not saying there isn't, but when I am with kids and parents, or when we get emails and phone calls, I'm not seeing that communication.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to wait until there's a crisis in order to talk to our children.
Right.
But if that is the case, whether it's a school shooting, God forbid, whether it's the war in Ukraine,
Subways.
whatever the case may be, a subway shooting in New York, God forbid, all of these things, God forbid. But, we should take the time, make that what I call an Obama teachable moment, sit down with our children and talk with them as to what these things mean. Meet them where they are. Find out what questions they may have.
Right.
Listen, don't try to shield your kids because your kids are on social media and they're reading all about this stuff and they know about it. But be age appropriate, be positive, teach them lessons, talk about bullying. Even when you're talking about the Ukrainian war, in some ways that's about bullying too, as well as, some horrible things that I don't want to go into given our audience here. But I think it's really important that we maintain a constant communication with our children. Don't wait until there's a situation, but have that open communication. Our kids need it now more than ever. Before the pandemic, Ross, so-called experts like myself would criticize parents about helicopter parenting.
That's what I
Leave
was.
kids alone. Let them develop. Give them their space. Let them have their time alone. Now, us so-called experts are saying, stay with your kids. Make sure you love them. Give them a hug. Talk to them constantly. I don't know if we gave bad advice back then, but this is the advice we need to give right now.
Right. And I would hope that the helicopter parents, which there are many, I would hope that they chill a little bit, because I think it's just hurting their kids. Not meaning to. They're trying to help their kids, and in the process, the kids are getting hurt. So they need.
It's a very difficult situation. Yeah, and it's about finding the right balance because our children need us now more than ever.
Right.
Look, we're in this thing called the pandemic, and then we have these world wars, and then these regional wars in Europe, and in Middle East, sub-Saharan desert, and so on. People dying, atrocities taking place, in some parts of Africa and so on. People dying constantly. What's going on in my motherland of Haiti? People starving and doing the best they can. These are very resilient people. But there was something in the New York Times that actually came up as to how France, for example, extracted a toll on the freedom of the people. Should check it out from Haiti, when Haiti actually declared their independence and beat France. Now, France asked them for, I don't know, $580 million to recognize them as a country and, to not attack them, extorted that money from them and threw Haiti in misery for many, 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 many years. So all of these things, I think, are part of what's going on in the world. And our kids are affected by all of this misery, all of this violence. And so now more than ever, we really have to communicate with our kids and let them know that maybe we can't control all the things that are going on around the world, but we can try to control the things that happen in our own home, which includes giving as much love as possible.
Very true. It's critical. Excuse me. It's not uncommon for mental health to be stigmatized, sadly. How do we recommend everyone adjust their schema towards acceptance of mental health and treatment?
We've got to smash that talking about mental health issues, and so on. It's important that we know World Health Organization describes health and mental health as being indistinguishable, right?
Right.
Both
Right.
one and the same. And therefore, the things that we do to maintain our health, we really need to do to maintain our mental health. We've got to
Mhm.
take care of that. And so part of that is being able to talk about when we don't feel well. Part of that is when we don't feel well emotionally, is to go and see a therapist, go see a guidance counselor at school, go talk to a social worker at school, whatever the case may be. There should be no shame in your game. If you had a broken arm, you'd go see, a physician or physician's assistant or nurse practitioner. If you have a mind that is having some issues, then go see a therapist and get it fixed, get it addressed. That's
Right.
so important. So
Right.
don't be ashamed of that. Health is health, whether it's regular health or mental health, it's all health.
Right. Right. We have a few minutes left to wrap up. What are some key ways to start a conversation in general with someone about their mental health? And how do we call for help, normalize the conversation, not just in schools, but at home?
So the way you start the conversation is the way that you would start any conversation, just asking someone how they're feeling. And don't program into your head that you're going to hear, I'm doing okay. Because
Right.
even if you hear that, you can go a little bit further. What does doing okay mean for you? Or I'm noticing that you're behaving in a certain way, or, you seem to be sad or angry. Can we talk about what's going on? And just showing that interest, I think, is the way to get started. You can even use yourself as an example. Sometimes I feel that way too.
Sure.
Let me tell you how, I deal with that, or, how it makes me feel, and some of the empowerment strategies that I use. So
Right.
all of those things are really important. And to
Yeah.
keep the conversation going, make that conversation interesting,
Right.
but
Right.
also listen as much as you can.
Yeah. We have Joanne Evans. If not in school with free resources, the cost of these services are often prohibited. But there are clinics within the country that offer free or services, or what, according to what you make, they adjust the fees.
That's right. That's right. Low cost, or a sliding scale. You can go to your local office of mental health. They'll tell you about all of the clinics, Medicaid, Medicare clinics that are in your area that are subsidized, with certain funds and so on. And here's the really great thing. Not only will you be able to get that therapy at low cost or even free, depending on what you make, but they'll also help you sign up for Child Plus, or some other kind of insurance that can help you in getting therapy services and medical
That's
services.
great. That's great. Thank you, Joanne. Well, Dr. Jeff, as always, thank you. You're
Always.
my partner in crime, and I love it. Um, Same time next year, but I really appreciate all your help and volunteering your time to do this. And we love you. You're awesome. Thank
Well,
you.
I love you all. Listen, thank you. Keep the faith. We've got to do our best. We will get through this. Where there is hope, there is life. And where there is life, there is hope. And don't forget, love is the answer.
That's right. Thank you.
All right. Take care.